In the past video, where I discussed the LAN security concepts, or the chapter 10 in the switching, routing, wireless essentials of our Cisco bridging course, I have discussed all of the potential network threats and mitigation and attacks. So to summarize it all, so first off, what will we learn in this module? This module, we'll learn uh, we explain how to use the endpoint security to mitigate attacks. We explained how the AAA and the 802.1x are used to authenticate LAN endpoints and devices. It also identifies the layer 2 vulnerabilities. We also explain how a MAC address table compromises LAN security. We also explain how LAN attacks compromise LAN security. So in endpoint security, basically, these are how we can secure or protect our hardware devices and like the laptops, routers, switches, the IP phones, the diodes. So in the network attacks, we have three most known attacks: the DDoS, the distributed denial of service attacks, which coordinates by attacking or by swarm of zombies that degrade or halt public access to an organization's website and resources. We also have the data breach, which is an attack that steals confidential information. We have the malware, which some attackers gets or steals some files and photos and then encrypts it until you and not give it back to you until you pay them good money. And the network security devices, you have the VPN enabled router, you have the NGFW or the next generation firewall, and we have the NAC or the network access control, the VPN enabled router. It provides secure connection to remote users across a public network. It changes your IP address and other things like that so that you will be recognizable in a network. Next off, we have the NGFW, which provides stateful packet inspection, application visibility, and control. Then we have the NAC, that includes the AAA services or the authentication, authorization, and the counting. And then all the endpoint protections, we must have the AMP software, the BIOS, the ASA, the image security appliance, the web security appliance, and other things like that. So we have the email security appliance. Cisco email security appliance, uh, it includes fine-grained control over email and web browsing for an organization's users. Uh, in this email security appliance, it blocks known threats, remediate against stealth malware that evade initial detection, discards email with bad links, blocks the access to newly infected sites, and then it encrypts content in outgoing email to prevent the data loss. Next off, we have the CAWSA, Cisco Web Security Appliance, or what is called WSA. Never mind the C that I have mentioned, it is just for formal purposes. This is a mitigation technology for web-based threats. Basically, the websites you visit, you, they are, some of them are infected by viruses and other threats. So what happens here is WSA blacklist can perform blacklisting of URLs. It also do URL filtering, malware scanning, URL categorization, web application filtering, and encryption and decryption of the web traffic. Then okay, so first up, review. An attack that encrypts the data on host in an attempt to extract a monetary payment from the victim is called a malware. Is called a ransomware. Then we have the device that so some devices that is specifically designed for network security are the VPN-enabled router and GFW and the NAC. So the ESA monitors the SMTP traffic to block threats and encrypt outgoing messages to prevent data loss. Then we have the WSA, the device that monitors HTTP traffic to block access to risky sites and encrypt outgoing messages. Then we have the access control. The access control, we will talk about the AAA services or the AAA components. So the AAA, which is to easily remember the functions of these three, we need to remember in authentication, it will ask you, who are you? Or what is your identity? Do you have the correct password, the username? If so, then okay. We pass to authorization. Authorization, how much can you, for example, how much can you, what sites can you visit? How much can you spend? How much can you use the network? This authorize or limits your use. Next is the accounting service. Uh, it is responsible for taking the information of what you, what is your activity in the network. Okay, so the most secure is the SSH. It is a more secure for the form of remote access because it requires a username and password and they are encrypted during the transmission. So we have the 802.1x. So, okay. So what does the 802.1x do? So basically, the 802.1x, it is a port-based access control and authentication protocol. It restricts unauthorized registrations from connecting to the LAN through publicly accessible switch ports. So the things we need to remember is the accounting is responsible for collecting and reporting usage data for auditing and billing purposes. And then the authentication is responsible for controlling who is permitted to access the network. And then the authorization is responsible for determining what the user can access. And the 802.1x implementation is responsible for lame responses is the authenticator. Okay. So now we have the layer 2 security threats. When we say layer 2, it is the most vulnerable or the weakest layer of all the OSI 7 layers. Ang ingay ng aso. Ay, Diyos ko. Okay, so if you recall the OSI reference, this is divided into 7 layers of the network. The physical, the data link, the network, transport, session, we call that the presentation and the application. So, when the layer 2 or the data link layer is compromised, then all of the layers above it is also compromised. So, what happens here? The switch attack categories. The MAC table attacks. It includes the address flooding attacks, the VLAN hopping and then double tagging, the DHCP attacks. It includes the DHCP starvation and DHCP spoofing attack. We have the ARP attacks, which includes ARP spoofing and ARP poisoning attacks. And then we have the STP attacks. It includes the spanning tree protocol attack, manipulation attacks. So there are some mitigation techniques for the switch. These are the layer 2 attack mitigation techniques. The port security, the HCP snooping, dynamic ARP inspection, and the IP source guard. In the port security, prevents many types of attacks including the MAC MAC address flooding. The DHCP snooping, it prevents the DHCP starvation and spoofing attacks. In the dynamic ARP inspection, it prevents ARP spoofing and ARP poisoning. IP source guard prevents MAC and IP address spoofing attacks. Okay, so there are things we need to remember in this layer 2 security threats. First up, the PPN, firewalls, and IPS devices are used to protect the layer 3 through layer 7 of the OSI model. Then we have the port security, which prevents many types of access, including MAC address table overflow and DHCP starvation attacks. And we have the IPSG, prevents MAC and IP address spoofing. And then we have the DAI, which prevents ARP spoofing and ARP poisoning attacks. Which of the following which of the DHCP snooping which of the this DHCP spoofing on the other side prevents the DHCP starvation and DHCP spoofing attacks. And then now we have the MAC address table attack. The MAC address, we have the okay, in this topic, it is basically focused on how the MAC address tables and how these tables are vulnerable to their attack. So the MAC address table is vulnerable to flooding. Traffic is flooded only within the local LAN or the VLAN. The threat actor can only capture traffic within the local LAN or VLAN or when he is connected through a port in the same network. Easier to catch when the attacker is near you or the same network as you. More specifically, when he is connected to the same port. Diba? Now, to mitigate these attacks, there's a tool called the MAC off that can flood the switch with up to 8,000 bogus frames per second. It can also counterflow this attack, the overflow attack. So when the switch will forward all received frames to all ports within the VLAN. This is a result of the successful MAC address table attack. It happens. A primary reason a threat actor would launch a MAC address overflow attack is so that the threat actor can see frames that are distinct for other devices. And then the port security is the mitigation technique that must be implemented to prevent MAC address flow attacks. Then we have the LAN attacks. We have the VLAN hopping attacks, the VLAN double tagging attacks. The VLAN hopping attacks, it enables traffic from one VLAN to be seen by another VLAN without the aid of a router. Whew! Then we have the VLAN double tagging attack. This in this threat actor in specific situations could embed a hidden 802.1q inside the frame that already has an 802.1q tag. This will allow the frame to go to the VLAN that the original 802.1q did not specify. Then a VLAN double tagging attack is unidirectional and works only when the attacker is connected to a port residing in the same VLAN as the native VLAN of the track port. So he cannot do the VLAN double tagging attack when he is connected to the network wirelessly. Then we have the DHCP messages. The DHCP servers dynamically provide IP configuration information including the IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS servers, and more to the clients. So the DHCP attacks includes the starvation attack and spoofing attack. The spoofing attack and the starvation attack, It is to create a denial of service for connecting clients. It it has the ability to collect and eat up all the visible IP addresses. Then the spoofing attack, it includes the wrong default gateway, wrong DNS server, and wrong IP address. Now we have the ARP attacks. In the ARP attacks, what happens is, in the ARP attacks, this is typically done to discover the MAC address of the default gateway. All hosts on the subnet receive and process the ARP request. So, when the ARP attacks, uh, what do you call this? Yeah. So that is what the ARP is all about. In the address spoofing attacks, when a threat actor hijacks a valid IP address of another device on the subnet or uses a random IP address. IP address spoofing is difficult to mitigate in this one. Then we have the STP attack. The STP attack, or the spanning tree protocol attack, that threat actors conduct an attack by spoofing the root bridge and changing the topology of a network. They will alter it so that the attackers can easily manipulate the STP. Now we have the CDP, or the Cisco Discovery Protocol Reconnaissance. It is enabled on all the Cisco devices by default. However, the information provided by the CDP can also be used by a threat actor to discover network infrastructure vulnerabilities. So that is it for the summary of Chapter 10.